What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. I'm going to break down why Tesla and the market saw a big sell-off today and why we're due for a bounce tomorrow, in my opinion. But the bounce might be very, very temporary based off what I'm seeing. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. Anyways, as far as Tesla's going, as you guys can tell, we're on a downtrend right now. We did talk about this yesterday. I mentioned that Tesla should be testing that 420 area. If that failed us, we're looking for a big dump lower towards 412, if not the low 400s. And that's exactly what happened today as Tesla lost its key support, and we came down to fill the gap over here around this 395 area. So yes, Tesla dumped quite a bit to fill its gap, and now we're attempting to hold 400 in the after hours, which makes me suspect that Tesla will attempt some kind of bounce move. The same thing could be said about SPY and the QQQ. Exactly as predicted, the market came down after the news came out about the government shutdown ending because of other factors and because the news was already priced in with this rising wedge on SPY. We came down to fill the gap, and now we're going to see if we bounce as well on SPY and the QQQ. And I think that overall, this will be having a big effect on Tesla stock. So, what do I think is going to happen for tomorrow? Let's talk about the news first, and I'll break down more details about the charts. Tesla was just hit with bad news after bad news after bad news. Tesla is going to be recalling around 10,500 of its Powerwall 2 home backup battery systems due to a risk of them overheating, burning, or even starting fires, unfortunately. This was a big report that came out from the US Consumer Product Safety Commission. And Tesla said in a recall notice that the issue was a third party battery cell defect. So, not the best of news for Tesla. Once again, they're working very hard to really take care of these problems. And that's what Tesla is going through right now. Not the best of news. Secondly, don't forget, I was going over this news for the last couple of days about how Tesla lost two of their very important project managers for the Model 3 and the Cybertruck. And on top of that, the North American sales are down 25% in October. The German sales are down 53%. The Chinese sales are down. And lots of European countries, the sales are down for October. So that's no surprise. Typically, when you finish the third quarter and you start Q4, October is known for being weaker, and then November and December tend to be stronger. But so far, like I said before, especially in America with the $7,500 tax credit coming to an end, that is once again hurting their sales for now. That's bearish news for Tesla for the time being. So lots of bad news for Tesla stock. So far, it's sold off. Now, it's not just news about Tesla itself that's causing Tesla to drop, it's also the overall market. We have an outperform rating for Tesla, but keep in mind the price price ratio is dropping and the whole market is coming down, which is dragging Tesla down. Tesla is known for being green about 49.94% of the time on Fridays, and we tend to see more volatility at 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, what's going on with the share price? Why is Tesla dropping? Let's go over some important things. Tomorrow is going to be Friday, November 14th, and there's not really much coming out. And there's a reason why I'm saying this, because we just have Schmidt from the Fed giving a speech at 10:05 a.m., and that's pretty much it. The PPI data was supposed to come out, but this data may not be coming out, and that's very significant. The whole market sold off because of two things, okay? Number one, okay, let's go back just a little bit. So first we were pumping. Tesla was pumping, SPY was pumping, the QQQ were pumping because we had this news about how the Senate had an agreement that passed to end the government shutdown. It would keep the government funded up until the end of January. Yesterday, the US House, they voted in favor of this and they passed the bill to President Trump's desk. President Trump then signed the bill, which ended the longest government shutdown in US history. This is the first reason why we sold off, because this was, like I said, a buy the rumors, sell the news event. We rally approaching the big news, then we just get this rug pull once that news comes out. SPY and the QQQ were pumping, and they both got a rug pull once the news came out, since this was fully priced in. That also dragged Tesla down, so that was one of the reasons. The second reason is this. Down here, you could see that the White House press secretary was telling us about how the key inflationary and labor data for October may never be released because this data was likely not collected. So, not the best of news. Why is that significant? Well, listen to what the Boston Federal Reserve President Susan Collins said. She said that absent evidence of a notable labor market deterioration, and I would be hesitant to ease policy further, especially given the limited information on inflation due to the government shutdown. That's a very, very important claim. So now, Jerome Powell was telling us that we need the data. The Fed wants the data for them to start cutting rates more. They need to see what the data is telling us. What data is there? We don't really have much data for the Fed to go off of so far. And that's leading to a lot of fear. Mainstream sources are saying that the market is selling off because of fear that the Fed might not even cut. And it's also because of the fact that the data might not even be coming out according to the White House, right? Some data will start to come out very, very soon, but we're waiting for the Department of or the Bureau of Labor Statistics to start releasing the data. It may take them a while to get everything together, but there is some fear that it's possible that much of the data was not even collected, right? There was no data collection because of the shutdown, and much of the data might not even come out. So now that the shutdown has ended, I do think data will start coming out like next week. But the previous data, even like CPI, I don't know if it's going to come out at all for the month of October. We don't know for sure, and that is a little bit negative for the markets. Now, there was private sector data coming out. We had data from the ADP in the private sector, which suggested that the labor market numbers were not good. But we don't have the official numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and that is what's causing some fear. Due to the lack of data, we do have reason to believe that the labor market is also contracting based off private sector data. But then for inflationary data, we don't really have much to say about CPI. And as a result, if there is fear that inflation is going up, the Fed is kind of like losing confidence in getting a cut so far. Of course, there's still about a month until December 10th, so we still have a month's worth of data to be looking at, and these numbers could change. But as of right now the market thinks there's a 50-50 chance of us getting a cut or not for December. There's only a 50% chance we get a 25 basis point cut and a 50% chance they keep rates the same. So keep that in mind. That's very important because we don't know for sure if we're going to get a cut now. And I think that is what's causing the market to sell off. That's another very, very important factor. For earnings, we got Walt Disney. They had mixed earnings. Their overall subscribers did go up for Disney Plus, but they missed on earnings. And for tomorrow, there's not really much coming out for earnings. Finally, for our data, we have 340,000 calls expiring, and we have over 880,000 puts expiring for a 2.59 puts to call option ratio. We'll see what that leads to. So what's my view of Tesla in the markets? It's quite simple. We're looking weak. Lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. We're technically on a downtrend. Now, when you zoom out of Tesla, we have a double top rejection, and there is a risk of further downside, especially if we end up losing 396. On the daily time frame, even if we bounce a little bit, we're going to see if we start filling some of these gaps, especially at 370, which is where we have this resistance becoming support. So I'm not saying that Tesla's done with the sell-off completely. I am saying that temporarily, however, we could be looking for a bounce if 400 holds. I think there's a good chance we get the bounce because the market is once again due for it with all the shorts expiring. So if we lose 396, we're bearish, but I don't really favor that yet. I think we get a temporary bounce for 410 to 415 on Tesla. And then we're going to see if Tesla makes another lower high and rejects again and continues to fall temporarily. If Tesla does fall again after this, so let's say we bounce to 410 to 415, then we get another rejection. If it dumps like this, I'm going to be very, very greedy at these lows because then we're going to be looking for a big squeeze to finish off the year, in my opinion. But we're not going to get too ahead of ourselves. As I've said before, or at least plan A comes before plan B, right? You have steps 1 and 2 before steps 3 and 4. So the first thing we have to watch for is the bounce. I think that Tesla is going to be going for that 410 to 415 area, especially as we're holding 400 in the after hours. I think we're going to try to bounce, and then we're going to be watching to see if we get another rejection, if this downtrend is going to continue. Make sure you watch your levels very, very closely in case we do get another rejection near the 410 to 415 zone. So look for a small bounce, and we'll see how well Tesla holds up. On the daily time frame, the trend is weak, but we could bounce a little bit back up towards 412 to 415. Then we'll see if we turn back down. So watch that very closely as well. On SPY, we're also showing some weakness. We're going to see if we bounce or not, but there is a possible head and shoulders on the daily. And the 4-hour time frame also has a possible slanted head and shoulders like setup. So what I'm saying is that what could happen is that SPY had a high here. We came down, made a lower high, and the trend is still bearish. So even if we bounce tomorrow, it could just be a temporary bounce and we could still reject and continue to fall a little bit lower before we form a bottom and then we see a big rally to finish off the year, right? That's another possibility. Now, for now, we're going to take it one step at a time. I anticipate SPY will be bouncing. I expect 675 to 678 to be tested. Then we'll see if we get a rejection or not. So watch that very closely. But look for a temporary bounce for 675 to 678. If we hold there, we could be looking optimistic. If not, we could be looking for another rejection, but look for a temporary bounce. We are due for that as we're at support on SPY. It's also because of the fact that it's Friday and because of other factors. On the QQQ, we're holding this white trend line. It's like a support. We're bouncing off this. We're near the support right here. And our red line, I know it's a little hard to see. Let me just hide these lines. See the red line right here? That's our 200 EMA at 605. That's our main support. So we have support between 608 and 605. If we end up losing this support, we could be dumping a lot more. But if we hold this, we could be looking for a rebound back up towards this 612 to 617 area. Then we'll see if we reject or not off this. So watch this very closely. But I do see a move like this coming to the QQQ for a temporary bounce for 612 to 617. With SPY and the QQQ bouncing, this could benefit Tesla. And I think Tesla will also try to bounce for the 410s for tomorrow. If not, 415 plus. And then we'll see if we get another rejection. So watch that very closely. For the IWM, we also have a double bottom right here. Now, if we end up losing basically this 235 area, it's going to be bearish. But with this double bottom, I'm looking for 240 or above, and we're going to see if we reject or not off this. But for now, look for a temporary bounce. On ES, we have resistance at 6780 to 6800. I think we easily test 6800, if not 6833 tomorrow. Then we'll see if we reject. It could still reject and make lower highs as we're technically on a possible downtrend, as you guys can tell. So look for a temporary bounce for the 6800 to 6833 area, and we'll see what happens as time goes on. On NQ, we basically have this resistance around 25,331, and we have this support at 25,000 flat. So I think that we're going to be going for that resistance around the 25,300 area, and then watch and see if we get some kind of rejection or not. On Bitcoin, we're going to be looking for 101,000. We'll see if we reject, so watch that very closely. Look for some temporary upside, and we'll see how it reacts right here. So look for a temporary bounce. And once again, for Tesla, it's going to likely follow the trend here. I think it's going to try to get back in this channel and retest the 410s to 415 zone at the very least. And we'll see if we reject from there, but look for a temporary bounce. Nvda is trying to hold 186. If we hold this, we could be looking for 190 to 193. Then we'll see if it turns down. For Aapl, we're at 272 as our main support. We're going to see if this holds. It's kind of neutral right now. It might bounce a little bit, but I do see this consolidating for the most part, not really doing a whole lot. On Netflix, we're looking for a test of 1161 to 1180, and we'll see if we reject. There's a double bottom here, so look for some temporary upside for the 1180, and we'll see how it goes. On MSTR, we're looking for a divergence. There's a slight bullish divergence, which could take us back up to 220, if not 229, and we'll see if we reject. Look for a small bounce for like 220, we'll see how it goes. Celsius is bearish. We could consolidate near this 45 to 44 area before we start dumping to fill this gap around 42, so I anticipate some downside. Supermicro is on a bit of a downtrend. We could be dipping more. There is resistance right here around this 37 area and support down here around 34. So look for 36.5 and we'll see if we turn back down. Palantir could be forming a double bottom. Look for support at 168 and we'll see if we rebound for 174. Rivian could be dipping back down towards this 15.6 area and we'll see how it goes. SoFi has resistance at 29.6 to 30 and we'll see if it rejects. So look for a temporary bounce. AMD has this resistance around 253 and support down here around this 240 zone. So it could be looking for 250 and we'll see how it goes from there. ARM has support at 145. PayPal is kind of like a double bottom looking for 65 or so and we'll see if it rejects. And then Coinbase has a slight double bottom, could be looking for an attempt for 291 if not 295. And we'll see if it rejects as well. Amazon has a bullish divergence, could be looking for a test of 241 and we'll see if it turns down. Meta is trying to base around this 600 area. Look for a bounce towards 620, I think, and we'll see if it rejects. And then Google might retest 280, if not 285, and we'll see how it goes. Microsoft could also retest 506 to 510, and we'll see if it rejects. And Oracle, we're basically testing this support right here at 218, and then this resistance is at 217, so that's the support zone. If 217 holds tomorrow, we're looking for a bounce for the 220s, and we'll see how it goes from there. Finally, the VIX has a head and shoulders like pattern. This might dip a little bit, so I do expect the 18s. I think it's going to retest like around 19.36 in the 18s, and we'll see if it bounces around there. But there might be a temporary downside move on the VIX as the market tries to bounce. That's another sign. The 10-year went up because of fears about the Fed possibly not cutting, as we're seeing less confidence about that. The dollar is not really affecting things, and crude is kind of flat. So I think SPY and the QQQ bounce temporarily tomorrow. We should be expecting 675 to 678 on SPY, and the QQQ should be looking for 612 to 617. Then we'll see if we reject off those levels, and that could help Tesla bounce temporarily for the 410 to 415 zone. We could even go a little higher if that breaks for a temporary bounce, but then we're going to see if Tesla rejects near 420 or not. But for now, we're going to take it one step at a time, look for that bounce, and we'll see what happens from there. I think Tesla tests at least 410 to 415 tomorrow. That's my prediction, at least for now, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. Don't forget, tomorrow is going to be Friday, and Fridays are known for manipulation, so keep that in mind. And with that being said, I just want to thank you all so much for listening. Please have an awesome rest of your guys' days, and I'll be back tomorrow before market open for another update. Until then, I wish you all the best, and peace out.